Let's solve equations using the multiplicative inverse. Number 1. Step 1. Read the equation. 7 times n equals 14. Step 2. Determine the inverse operation and apply it to both sides. To solve an equation means we want to have the variable alone on one side, and we are going to use the inverse operation to have this n be all by itself. For n to be alone on the side of the equation, we need to use an inverse operation to turn the coefficient 7 into a coefficient of 1. The inverse operation that will turn 7 into 1 is to divide by 7. If we divide by 7 on one side, we must apply it to both sides. 7n divided by 7 leaves you with 1n, and 14 divided by 7 equals 2. 1 times n equals n, so n equals 2 is your solved equation. How did we determine and apply the inverse operation in step 2? We determined which inverse operation to use by looking at the coefficient of the variable and dividing by that value on that side of the equation and on the other side of the equation as well. Step 3. Check the solution. To confirm that n equals 2 is the correct solution, we take the original equation, we substitute n with the value 2. So 7 times n is 7 times 2 equals 14. Now make sure that you use parentheses when substituting into a variable with the coefficient. If you put the 2 here without the parentheses, it might look like 72. We want this to be clear that it is 7 times 2, and parentheses will help make sure that we do not make a mistake. 7 times 2 equals 14. 14 equals 14. This is a true comparison, and so we know that n equals 2 is the value that makes 7 times n equals 14 true. How did we check the solution? And remember what we're careful for when substituting into a variable with the coefficient. We check the solution by replacing the variable with the value from the solved equation. Now we also make sure to use parentheses when substituting into a variable that has a coefficient so that we can make sure that we multiply those two values. You are now ready to solve equation number 2 using the multiplicative inverse to get the variable w alone on one side.